Chapter 29. Escape Velocity. Zelania held a tiny Ximmateri arachnid in the crook of her forelimb as she tried vainly to rock the baby spiderling gently back to sleep.
This really isn't a good time, Shiwu, so it better be important, whatever it is.
I apologise profusely, Zelania, but certain key events are happening a lot faster than I might otherwise have predicted.
Such as, for example?
Zelania asked plaintively, a harassed and distracted expression on her face.
Such as the unexpectedly swift completion of a mesh quantum brain.
The Shybot replied very matter-of-factly.
What an odd thing to say, Shiwu, even by your standards. Regardless, I have to imagine this has at least something to do with Ximodian, yes?
Well, in a manner of speaking, I suppose that it does. As a matter of fact, I have been deliberately avoiding the young general, and must continue to do so for his sake as much as my own. It's one of those plausible deniability sort of things.
Zelania's expression turned to one of perplexed consternation. She briefly stopped rocking the baby spiderling, who in response immediately started to cry.
I really don't like the sound of that at all. After all, I know full well how close you two are. Perhaps it might be best if I simply don't ask any more questions. Not that that's ever stopped me in the past,
the Hive Mother added, with a self-deprecating smile. Jiwu could not help but feel a little guilty for being so cryptic. But Zelania was absolutely right. The less she knew, the better.
I need you to do something of the utmost importance, Zelania, and I need you to trust me as much as I'm about to trust you.
The Hive Mother's antennae began to waggle furiously. Jiwu's aura was as vivid now as the first time she had ever felt it. There was a purity and vibrance to its presence that made it seem realer than real. Nevertheless, she could clearly sense the Xybot was deeply troubled. Complexity layered on top of uncertainty, weighing heavily on its mind. It was almost enough to make her feel exhausted, simply to bear witness to. She couldn't quite escape the feeling, however, that perhaps this had something to do with the recent death of Zethusela 123. His own Hive Mother was absolutely beside herself with grief, despite him being such a difficult child to rear. It was hard for her to even imagine how she would feel if something like that ever happened to Ximodian. A thought so terrible, she quickly banished it from her mind. The ugly truth was, Zelania firmly believed there was much more to that assassination than the official story. Perhaps even to the point where the whole thing was nothing but a complete fabrication. She did not know for certain whether or not Zethusela had known about Ximodian's condition, but he was very close to the doctor, and of course he was also Jiwu's creator. She therefore harboured little doubt there was not much that he didn't know. At least, up until the point of his death, anyway. No, Zethusela's assassination, under such suspicious circumstances, was a deeply unsettling reminder they must all be very careful, as the revelation of Ximodian's secret could itself have very dire consequences indeed.
All right, Shiwu. You know I'll always be here to help you as much as I possibly can. So what exactly is it you need me to do?
Zelania now waited expectantly while glancing furtively from one end of the nursery to the other.
I need you to send an encrypted message to Ximodian. Ask him to visit and tell him it's urgent. But tell him to keep it on the down low and not to talk to anyone about where he's going or what he's up to. Perhaps you can suggest he sets up an appointment with the good doctor to use as a cover story.
Zelania's expression was filled with worry.
All right, whatever you say, Siwu. But please don't tell me he's in some kind of trouble. I honestly don't think I could bear the thought of losing him, not after what happened to Zithusula.
The Xibot placed a comforting hand onto the hive mother's carapace.
Zimodian will be absolutely fine, I promise. All I need you to do is give him this crystal. But please, Zilania, I need you to be very careful with it. Try to pretend you are holding someone's life in the palm of your hand, a responsibility I know you are more than qualified to bear the burden of.
Don't worry yourself, Shiwu. I promise not to drop it down the garbage chute by mistake. And yes, I know much better than to ask what is on it or what it will be used for. So then, is there anything else you want me to do? Or is that really all there is to it?
That's pretty much it, Zilania. But suffice it to say there's a lot riding on the successful completion of this task. Just tell him there are some instructions on the crystal, and that I very much look forward to seeing him at the orbital array when he delivers the mesh quantum brain.
Shiwu very surreptitiously handed Zilania the tiny memory crystal. She immediately lifted it up to her face for closer inspection, almost as if doing so would allow her to divine its contents.
Seems like an awful lot of fuss for such an insignificant little thing. Why can't you just give it to him yourself, or simply get it shipped directly to Xicades?
Because no one must know the crystal exists. Speaking of which, I thought we had already both agreed you weren't going to ask any questions.
With a nonchalant shrug of her forelimbs, Zilania casually bounced the crystal in her hand a couple of times, and then placed it into a small pouch in her backpack.
And exactly how urgent is urgent? Regarding his visit, I mean.
Shiwu sighed performatively.
You need to see him before the IAOA take delivery of the MQB. There's a window of opportunity that will close once the device has left the Xicades shipyard. But I've already said more than I should, so please, I beseech you, no more questions, Zilania.
All right then, Shiwu, it really shouldn't be a problem. He visits at least once a cycle anyway. Almost like clockwork in point of fact. We remain very close, the General and I. I guess we always will.
I figured as much.
The Xibot said warmly, sounding just a little bit brighter. Zilania now stared at the Xibot searchingly. Her antennae began to waggle frantically, and a motherly look of concern quickly spread across her face. She's reading me, Ziwu suddenly realized, feeling strangely exposed under the heat of her penetrating gaze.
I'm never going to see you again, am I, Shiwu?
The Xibot said nothing, and somewhat to Zilania's surprise, just gave her a very tender little hug. The baby spiderling started to cry uncontrollably, and this time no amount of rocking seemed able to console it.